Welcome to the Hacking Your Health podcast with Ben Canning and Dave Kennedy. Two guys heading out to hack body, mind, business, and beyond. We are here to provide a single source, bullshit-free guide to understanding your body and how you can live better for longer.
Dave from the Hacking Your Health podcast. Just want to say, if you enjoy what we're doing here, what you're listening to, please share us. We're all over Instagram, Discord, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. Check us out at HTTPS wehack.health, as well as our Discord server, which is discord.gg/wehackhealth. Pretty much everything is wehackhealth. But thanks again for all the support, all of the stories that you're sharing. Share your successes, your struggles. That's what this community is here is for. That's why we do this podcast, and your energy supports us. So thank you so much, and hope you enjoy the podcast.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. I'm Ben Canning.
And I'm Dave Kennedy, a tired Dave Kennedy.
This is a tired Dave Kennedy, and this is Hacking Your Health podcast. What's up, dude?
Just took a red eye back from California, so I had a meeting out there, which is really good. Got my lift in, which is great. It's been a little bit of an adventure. My flights got delayed going out there, which was great because I can get my lift in, which is awesome. And then got there, late at night the other night, and then went and lifted this. It got to be yesterday morning, and then
you don't even know what day you're on anymore.
I don't know what day I'm on. I think it's Friday right now, but I don't know which days I actually lifted. But that was a good trip. Quick one, obviously, and then the quick turnarounds with time zones and like everything else gets you. Definitely tired and trying to get back to some normalcy. So I took a little bit of a nap, and I am drinking some coffee. So I should be chipper in about hopefully 10 minutes.
Okay.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. And just for anybody who listened to last week's podcast that we recorded on Monday, that we said we were going to record the next one on Tuesday. It's not Tuesday. It is actually Friday. Dave hasn't completely lost the point.
Yes.
I am doing good. I got the Hacks group check-ins done this morning. I went and did my pull session. I did 30 minutes of cardio, which is 30 minutes of watching burger videos.
Were you watching burger videos? Or doesn't matter who? Yeah.
Sometimes I watch Alex Hormozi, but I find the burger videos get me through it a little bit quicker. But yeah, things are good, dude. I got 1 week to go until travel, which is going to be cool. And just like I said before, wrapping up and onboarding some new calls before I close the doors. But things are good. Things are really good, dude.
Well, you should tell everybody about the what is actually happening in Denver, and what's planned from there, because I think it's pretty awesome what you put together.
Okay, before I get into that, and this is something you'll appreciate. This is something you'll appreciate. I got a new, not mouse mat, but like desk cover that has like a charging thing on the side, so my phone and my AirPods can. So I'm very happy that I just installed that just before we get on. Anyway, what we're going to do in Denver. So obviously, as anybody who's listened for a while will know, every so often we do a in-person event. The first one we did was just over a year ago. I think it was the end of March last year. We obviously did it in Ohio. Then we did one in Nashville, which I think was in September. And I did one in Munich in March this year. And then this one is the next US one, which is in Colorado Springs. I leave next Friday, but it starts the following Monday. And essentially the plan with it is we do 2 days in a gym. Just to get some time sort of face-to-face, hands-on coaching to sort of allow other people to see how other people train, because like yourself, the majority of people train by themselves, either at home or in a gym. So I think it's good to sort of see how other people move. And then obviously it gives me time to see how people move in real life and any sort of adjustments that needed to be done. I think it's also good because the people within the client group talk and communicate to each other on a regular basis. So to see them actually in person, interact and sort of show that they're actual real life humans, I think is good as well. So we've got 2 days in a gym. We're going to do the usual Top Golf. We're going to do a shit shirt night, which should be entertaining in itself. We're going to do Whirly Ball, which was a recommendation by Ryan. I think it could be a bit of a curveball. So stay tuned for some good footage on that. And then obviously, because we're in Colorado, we're going to do a couple of hikes and stuff like that. We're going to stay in Airbnb. Everybody's going to be together. There's about 25. There's 24, 25 coming, which will be the biggest one yet. And honestly, like I've said this before, I'm not a person that gets excited about a lot of things, but I am fucking excited for this. Like I cannot
Awesome.
wait to get out there, see everybody, hang out. The Airbnb is absolutely fucking huge. It's on like 72 acres of land, and we're going to be in the middle of nowhere, just hanging out. We're going to have a barbecue. Yeah, it's going to be a good event.
It's those types of events. I went to the one in with the first one in Cleveland, and then the other one that was in Texas, in Nashville, and the relationships that are forged there, the ability to kind of keep yourself motivated moving forward. I think those are all amazing things that these types of events accomplish. The camaraderie, the friendships, the people sharing the same types of interests. We've always talked about the tribes being kind of the main aspect of how you kind of keep motivated. Obviously yourself as well being a big part of that, but these types of events I always have a ton of fun with, and it's gonna be great.
I think.
Did you get the gym squared away?
Yeah, the gyms, everything. Touch wood, everything is sorted.
I know that was a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, that is a challenge. Let me tell you. But I think the one thing that I've realized the first time, and obviously these are sort of developing over time. The first time around when we were in Ohio, obviously everybody stayed in a hotel. The second time around in Nashville, everybody stayed in an Airbnb. And I think the sort of difference in like you said, the relationships and the camaraderie of everybody, and like the relationships that you can forge, like strong friendships within the group is not something that I would say that people expected to get out of being in this sort of WeHack Health environment and whatever else. And I will say this, and this is a recent sort of realization for myself. I was having a conversation with a client who will remain unnamed, and he basically was just thanking me essentially for putting the group together and what we're doing with WeHack Health, and sort of he sort of came across that he found a space that it was okay to be himself, and he found a space that it was okay to share and just come and be himself and not sort of worry. And I took a bit of a minute to reflect on this, and I don't know whether it's just the timing of the sort of creating the group or the people who are involved, or if it's the sort of shift from working in person to working fully online. But I genuinely think I've found that space as well. And, it may seem a bit strange to say, but I do think that, being in that group, like I don't ever feel like I need to hold back in being my true self. And I think that that's a very rare thing to find. So being able to host an in-person event and actually get to see everybody in real life, like I'm literally getting messages day by day from everybody who's going to attend me. Like, I can't wait. It's 10 days, 14 days, like literal countdowns going on. So I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously, when we're there, we're going to plan out some more down the line. But yeah, that is what's going on in Colorado. I have to shout out Jason as well, like him and the work that he's put into me being like, have I done this? Have I done that? Have you checked this out? Where's this? Like, what's the location for this? Like, I have absolutely tortured him. So shout out to him for putting up with me and hosting us essentially.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, like you mentioned, the ability for everybody to kind of come together, for new folks that haven't done one of these before, for folks that have done this before, that have been around for quite a while, and kind of share experiences. And everybody's in a different part of their journey, and that's great. That's the great part about all this. Some folks are further along, some folks are just starting, some folks are right in between, some people are struggling. Those types of events, I think, really help kind of put everything in perspective and say, hey, this is going to be great. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. At the same time, though, get your mind in the right place to actually move forward and keep doing it. I know last time I came out of it, I was definitely more motivated to lift more and never take a deload week ever again.
I think the good thing, I think for me and sort of for everybody who attends, is you get to see the same people every 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months, how long it's been. And people will see your progress, because yes, we can see each other on calls, and we have the weekly calls and people chat back and forward and share photos and whatever else, but it's different to seeing people actually in real life. So I know, the prime example I'll talk about here is Mike. Like, you remember Mike whenever he was in Ohio the first time, like he must have only been maybe a month in, 6 weeks into the actual program as a client. And I think we can all tell the difference in Mike. So I'm excited to see him again in real life. And as you said, there'll be people who are brand new that this will be the first one. And I was getting some messages today of people that are like nervous and excited. And I think that that's a funny aspect of it as well, because it's like these people communicate all the time, but actually being in person in real life is slightly different. But yeah, there's people who have been, I'm going to say potentially Tyler has been the only person who has attended them all, but there's people who have been to 3, 2, 1, and then there's going to be some brand new folks. And obviously Ryan will be with me as well. And like, if you think I'm excited, Ryan cannot wait to get out. So it's going to be cool putting everything together. Obviously for anybody, there will be a sort of I don't want to say after movie because that's going to be building it up too much, but we definitely will capture some footage and sort of let people see what's going on. But yeah, I'm very much excited for that for sure.
And I think what I'm most excited about is to beat you on everything that I'm doing. So that's I'm just kidding.
We have to have a Topgolf rematch.
That's right. Yeah, the Angry Birds Topgolf rematch, and see who can actually win that. So
Yeah.
I've been practicing. I beat my kids this last weekend, and so I'm feeling kind of important. I'm going to bring my golf clubs and everything. Just to make nice.
Got the gloves and the boot, the shoes and all that. I don't know much about it, but yeah. So yeah, that's what I've got on. As I said last week, like I've been sort of spinning the mental plates on that. So I'm looking forward to actually getting out and sort of. I can't imagine it's going to be chilling out, but definitely just knowing that everything's sort of boxed off and I've managed to pull it off. It's definitely going to be one. So that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, we kick off in, I think, ETA 1 week, right? Not next week, but the following week, and then folks will be there for that week, and then we'll get there and catch up. But I'm excited. What do we got? What do we got in store for today?
Well, today, so because it's Friday, and on Friday I do the Hacks group check-ins. So I thought it would be cool to sort of give a bit of an insight as to like what's actually going on, like what they struggle with and how I deal with it, and you and I can obviously have a conversation with it. Literally, what happens whenever I go through the check-ins, I sit here, I get up it's the earliest morning that I get up because I know I have so many to do, and I just sit here, I put my headphones on, and I just fucking type away. But as I go, if there's points that, and anybody who's watching, this is the actual post-it note that I use. So I use post-it notes for that, and I'll just take notes. And then basically once I've completed everybody's check-ins, I'll record a video and I'll drop it into the Discord so that everybody gets the benefit of like what other people are struggling with and sort of my insights so that I can share it within the whole group. So I thought it would be cool to go through the sort of recurring patterns that I see people struggle with, my sort of points to overcome it, and obviously get your input as well from sort of both sides.
Yeah, those calls end up being such a great opportunity for people to, question or ask perspectives. I mean, even if it's something like simple, like, hey, what's the best pre-workout that you all use? Or, hey, what kind of, belt weight can I use? Or those types of things. But, the struggling part, I think, is really important because, a lot of folks don't understand how our bodies work, or, they're just in this journey. They may be struggling with certain things like understanding macros or calories. And those concepts are so fundamentally important to understand to equate to your direct success in all of this, right? And there was a video I was watching, about programs that people go into, and really the focus, for any of this, regardless, if you're a man or a woman, is really to start to build muscle mass in any way that you possibly can, so that you can start to strip off, the body fat and have, a good physique. And, I think the big problem that most people struggle with, the number one question that I always see folks coming into when they come into the group is that, one, you increase your calories, which, they're like, well, I'm eating more now. This doesn't make any sense. And two, what they don't realize is that if you start to shave, and I've seen this so many times from so many different people that have tried this before, is that when you cut your calories substantially to where your body is starving or hungry all the time, it's okay to be hungry, but like starving all the time, you're starving your body of nutrition, food, and things like that. Your body, your mind, everything else starts to shut down as well. It starts to go in kind of like a reserve. If you have your phone, your battery is really.
I have a great analogy for this. I was on a call with a conversation.
I was right there.
No.
Damn it.
No. So we use the analogy of cardio versus weightlifting and building the engine and burning the fuel. We've used that analogy before. Shout out to James. He's the one that sort of put it to me whenever we had the initial call. So I was on a call with someone and we were talking about something similar, and I was like, the analogy for this, whenever you reduce calories and what your body does, imagine you drive an electric car and you have 70 miles to go and there's only 50 miles left on the car. What do?
I basically start to like gun the gas and go as fast as I can.
Well, there is no gas. It's an electric car.
I know.
So you start to switch off everything. Yeah. The radio goes off, the windows go up, like the heating goes off.
So really funny story about that is I obviously own a Tesla, and it was a really bad storm here in Cleveland, and Aaron and I went downtown for a Cavs game, and I had forgotten to charge the battery, so it was like a really tight way to get back. Right, I think I had like 37 miles left on my thing, and I had like 35 miles to go. And here's, my wife on the right-hand side with all the heated seats on, her
phone plugged in.
She got her phone plugged in and her battery charger to charge her battery. I'm like, listen, we're not going to make it here because you're consuming more than you know what's going on here. So I totally relate to this analogy.
So that's exactly it. So that's what your body will do. It's like, I have this many miles to go, but I only have this much fuel. So it'll start to shut down different processes that essentially it doesn't need. So like digestion or thought processes or whatever it doesn't really need to sort of get by. And that is that analogy. So whenever you start to low calories or whenever you bring calories down too far, everything else will suffer. So your cardio, you won't have the same intensity. Your steps, you'll be like dragging your feet. You'll be like hanging off the edge of the desk. Like, you just won't have the same amount of energy. Yep. So for me, when it comes to calories, I always try and find the line between, yes, we're in a deficit, but we can still get the most from our training, especially because if you're going to spend the time actually going to the gym and doing your training, you want it to be worthwhile. You want it to be worthwhile sessions. You don't want to come out and go, that sucked. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can still do it where you have enough energy and enough fuel and enough calories to put in a good workout. And in actual fact, the more intensity you can put into that workout in a roundabout way, the more calories you burn. So you can still sort of create that deficit by putting the work in, but by having more calories. And then cardio, your energy that you can put into cardio will be less because you have literally less fuel in your body. The sort of subconscious things that we do, like even right now I'm playing with a pen, I'm taking the lid off, like that is burning calories. But if I was on low calories, I wouldn't be doing stuff like that because my body would just subconsciously start switching all those bits off.
Yep. And that type of process is really hard for people to understand because they're taught do ass ton of cardio and then do, a bunch of basically, diets that restrict your food. And you have to be in a position that you're prioritizing protein as your main, form of calories in order to really give you enough to support that muscle. And then, the carbohydrates and fats to give you the energy and everything else that you need there. And so, you have to create this like ecosystem of balance of, protein for muscle growth, building that muscle. And as you start to build more muscle, the stronger you get. The more muscle mass that you have, the more calories you will burn, thus also burning calories and fat. So it's this crazy balance that you have to kind of figure out, but it's like counterintuitive to everything that we're taught out there. But that's the number one question that I always see, when people first come in here. There's like, does Ben really know what he's doing?
Like
sometimes I'm
straight
like, no,
into
absolutely not. Just listen to me. Just listen
straight
to me.
into the DMs, being like, "Are you sure that this is the right way?"
I'm like,
to go?
listen, ignore everything Ben tells you. Lift 7 days a week, 200 calories.
Eat these raspberry ketones, and you'll be fine.
All right, let's get into some of yours. Yes.
Yes. So, I'm going to go in a bit of a reverse order because I think some will hit home a little bit more. I don't know whether to not name the people. We'll just go with it. They'll know who they are. One comment that I got today was about the feeling of doing enough whenever you're in your sessions. And I think it maybe triggered me a little bit. And I was like, because of the way that I do the hack check-ins, it's typed. So I was like typing like instead of obviously, the voice ones. But, the sort of, I guess the thought process of doing enough. And I think the sort of avenue that I went down from it is like, training should be hard. And like, I always go back to the Jocko gift good, like good, like it is hard, good, like do one more, like shut the fuck up and get on with it and do one more. And I think that a big part of it is that training hard is a skill that needs to be learned. So if you take yourself, for example, I'm not saying that you didn't train hard whenever we first started, but you certainly...
No, I didn't. There's no question.
You trained hard for the position that you were in at that time, right. But you learned the skill of what it takes to actually push your body, like to train the failure. Like you can't just turn up in the gym the first day and expect that. And I think, number one, pressure is a privilege, like that tweet. But, the pressure and the difficulty of actually training hard is something that you have to learn over time. And it is a mental battle. That was what the comment was. It was a mental battle. And I was like, good, it should be a mental battle. Like you should, you're in the gym and I'm not there. So you could just sack the whole fucking set off and be like, oh, whatever, he's never going to know. But that's fine because whether you do the set or not, it's not going to impact my life in any way, shape or form. It's on you. Do you know what I mean? If you make that decision, where are you going to start to rewrite the narrative that you're going to cut corners in other areas of life? So that is one part, is like hard work, like do the hard work. It should be hard. It should be challenging. And that's okay. It's okay that it's hard. Like lean into it, do one more. Like when you think you're finished, do another one. Your body will do a lot more than your mind wants it to. Like your mind will do that protective thing where it's like, nah, just give up. We'll just go and eat donuts. It's fine. We'll chill. Whereas if you genuinely challenge yourself, like there are the reps and there are the sets that really, really, really make the difference. And it's not for everybody, and that's okay too.
It's interesting. You mentioned the putting in the time and work and how hard you have to go. It was always interesting for me starting off, like was I doing the right exercises to actually build muscle? Was this actually making a difference? Was I going hard enough? And oftentimes I think we get overly consumed with rep ranges. Like, hey, I only have to do 3 to 5. Well, no, you do as many as you can in that set. You just don't give up and quit. Go until it makes it harder. But if you notice that you're doing, let's just say you're trying to build strength, and you want to stay within like the 3 to 5 rep range, and you start getting into the set, and you're like, well, I hit 5, I can do more. Well, continue to do more. Don't stop at 5. But know that next time or the next set that you're going to go up in weight so that you hit that 3 to 5 rep range, right? You always want to be trying to maximize volume, weight, going up in weight, what that means, and getting as close as you possibly can to muscle failure. It doesn't mean you got to go to muscle failure completely, but to know that feeling, I think is really important because that can show you how far you can push yourself. Just yesterday when I was at the gym, I think it was yesterday.
One day this week.
Might have been last month or something. I don't even know anymore what's going on here. But just yesterday, I went to this gym, and it was funny because I get all these jokes now about being the muscle guy, and it was for it was actually a really cool event for my investment company in Binary Invictus. We had a portfolio company where all the portfolio companies that they've invested in come together, and we talk through our businesses and how they're doing and learning, different experiences. It was actually a really great business thing. And I kind of sat in the back. I'm like, wow, I can't believe, Dave that started this in his basement is sitting here with all of these successful businesses. And I'm one of those successful businesses. In fact, they're highlighting us as being one of the most successful businesses here. I'm like, that's just mind blowing. Right. But of course, what's really great about that is like everybody's making muscle jokes about me. So like, I came up on stage and he's like, Dave's, obviously a massive cybersecurity guy, and you obviously don't want to get in a weightlifting contest with them. I'm like, I like these jokes. I'll take these all day long.
Yeah.
But I was going to go up to the gym, and one of my folks over at Binary, one of the partners there, I started the company with, Mike. He's like, that gym's not going to be sufficient for you. There is not.
There's nothing there heavy enough.
He's like, the dumbbells only go to 60. I'm like, 60. I'm like, damn it. I'm like, I'm gonna give it a shot because like in California, they don't have like a ton of meathead gyms. I don't know why, but it's just I guess they just don't have a ton of meathead gyms. So I went to the gym in the morning. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I got like maybe like 6 hours of sleep. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna go and do it because we had to be downstairs to start this meeting at 8:30. And I get there, and there's actually some really good machines there that I could do. Now, here's the thing: it wasn't the normal weight that I would normally leverage. But what I can do is I can mix my routine up a bit to hit more volume as I'm starting to go through and still get the same types of benefits of muscle hypertrophy and strength and muscle exhaustion, everything else that I was doing. So, I had a great workout. I broke a massive sweat. I was drained at the end of it. I wasn't, able to move my arms afterwards, which is exactly where you want to be at. And, it was a fantastic workout. But I remember, a few years ago doing those types of exercises and wondering, am I doing this right? Am I going hard enough, and how do I know? And I was always focused on like rep ranges and, whether or not like, I should stop at 12 or should I go to 15 or is 20 too much? At the end of the day, just keep lifting until your arms are about to fall off, and that's a pretty good rule of thumb that your intensity and workouts are good. Now, you can start getting down into like some of the very specifics around explosive, powerful, strong movements, that increase strength. And you always want to be going up in weight, right? If you're doing 15, 20 rep ranges, go up in weight so that you can, start to increase the volume, with thus also increasing the amount of strength that's needed, muscle that's needed to do that. But, I was always like very apprehensive of whether or not this was actually working or not. Remember, I think you sent me a deadlift video from when I first started. I think I had like 225 plates on, or maybe I think it was 245 plates on. So, that would have been 135 pounds. And I just look at that, I'm like, wow, what an awkward, like ostrich looking dude right there. That's, trying to deadlift. It was so awkward.
But that's the thing. Like, it's all a skill that you need to learn. Do you know what I mean? Like, you weren't great at it at the start, but you did what you could with the ability that you had. And now you're better because you've spent 2.5-3 years doing it. When it comes to rep ranges, I think this is a funny one as well. And I remember a comment that Matt made before. He's like, everybody always seems to finish on an even number. Nobody likes finishing on an odd number. Like, what way is their body made up? But I would always say, like, the rep ranges are there as a guide. Do you know what I mean? If it is 12 to 15 and you do 15 and you're like, I could do 4 more, like, do the fucking 4 more and make a note of it. Like, don't think, oh, it's 15, I need to stop now. So use them as a guide and actually really start to challenge yourself. And even whenever you're like, I just trained about 2 hours ago. So I was like in that sort of mindset. Because I obviously just had that rant at the client that will remain unnamed. And I was like, I'm finishing. I'm like, I mean, I definitely have more there. Like, yes, I can finish, and this will be progress, but one more will be progress also. So there definitely is more there. The next bit, just on what you're saying about travel and about the gym, one thing that comes up quite a lot is obviously about travel or whenever things are out of your control. And there's two sides to this coin. I think, obviously, whenever it comes to training and nutrition, but essentially this comment was around having to go to work dinners or client events or whatever when they don't have a choice around the food that they're given or the restaurant they're at or whatever it might be. And yes, okay, while I accept that's okay, that potentially, 2 days out of the week, you may be in a situation where you are not in control of the food, but you are definitely in control of how much of it you eat. So it may not be optimal, but it doesn't mean you need to overeat or overconsume in that situation. And the thing about whether it's a week that you're away on vacation or a couple of days or you're away for work or whatever it is, accept that in those times that you're not going to be 100% on it and you're not going to be perfect, but double down on the times that you are. So every meal that you are in control, make sure that you're like absolutely in line with where you need to be. Make sure that you can control that. So essentially control the things you can control and don't overly worry about the things that you can't, because in the grand scheme of things, if we zoom out, if you have 2 meals, 3 meals, 4 meals a month that you're not in control of, that's okay too.
Yeah. And the meal aspect of things and the food piece of it, I think was the hardest thing for me to learn, but I think it's the hardest thing for anybody to learn, right? I mean, at the end of the day, our relationship with food is what causes most of these issues that we have. I mean, you can be skinny and lean through just, what you eat. There's no question. I mean, there was a study done on mice where they brought the mice into two different types of categories and criteria. One is they took mice that were in the wild that had access to, running and foraging for food and the natural stuff that we see, just like humans. If we were to go out in the wild and didn't have a house or things like that, we'd have to forage for our own food, hunt our own animals and those types of things, right? Which obviously expend energy. And they took the two classes of mice and they separated them. And one, they put on a caloric restriction, and the other, they just allowed as much food as they could possibly eat. So caloric restriction, no working out, right? So no ability to forage food or having to do all the things that, that you would normally have to do in the wild. But also the second criteria was they, would give mice that could eat essentially whatever they wanted to, unlimited sense of food. And what they found is that obviously the, mice that could eat as much food as they wanted to increased in weight and continued to get into the obese category, where they had trouble maintaining weight, as well as starting, hitting things like, diabetes and cancer and things like that because of the obesity component. And then you had the mice that were in a caloric deficit. They took the amount of calories out that would typically be burned during a day of foraging, caloric deficit. Those mice were able to maintain leanness and increase muscle mass as well on those caloric deficits based on, the types of activities that they were conducting. So you can clearly see food ends up being the majority of our problems, right? Now, once we tackle food, the other aspect is, well, what do we want to accomplish out of this type of fitness goal? Is it to control our food and not have to worry about working out? Or is it health and longevity? Is it, to look good with the six pack on a beach? Is it, to get all the benefits that you get of the accomplishment of working out? It's funny because Ben and I will just send literally like hundreds of Instagram videos back and forth to one another. And they're usually stupid and hilarious. But a lot of the motivational ones that we send back and forth together are about the feeling that you could have a totally crap day, or things could be going wrong in your life, or, the situations that you just ended up happening that day or that week or that month. You just feel like total garbage. Maybe your kids are just like totally pissing you off, and it's just, you come home and you're just exhausted, but you go to that gym and there's like something that happens magical in that gym. And it's a battle with yourself, but it's your own like sanctuary, your own time with yourself. It's your time to reflect. It's your time to think. It's your time to push yourself to different limits. It's your time to accomplish something for yourself, right? And when you get out of that gym, it's the most euphoric effect that you can possibly imagine, where those problems just go away and it's not that big. And you just did something for yourself, and you just bettered yourself, and your body recognizes that. And you just feel like you fixed all of the world's problems for that period of time. And that's why I really like working out first thing in the morning. I remember I used to do night lifts. I used to always do night lifts.
I remember Dave that was like,
night lifts.
I'm not a morning person, and now you're texting me like, I'm like, it must be 5 a.m. or some shit where he is. Like, I don't know.
It's so weird. I do not mind at all. Like if I have to work out, like if I've got just a busy day, I will get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go lift. Like I have to get it out in the morning because it sets my tone for the whole day. The rest of my day is great.
Do the hard stuff in the morning.
Yeah.
I think Jason tweeted this, and it was like a short or a motivational video from The Rock, and he talks about he doesn't just put the weight on the bar, he puts his stress, he puts everything that he deals with, everything that he goes through, any sort of stresses, family matters, business, everything goes on the bar and everything gets left on the gym floor. So using it for that. And again, I've had this conversation a couple of times recently. Like, I'm not saying that the gym is a fix for anybody who has any serious mental health issues or problems or whatever, but it definitely is something that can be used as a tool to improve that, like the sort of headspace that it gives. And I have been at this desk thinking, fuck, right, I've got so much stuff to do. Like, have I sent all the stuff? Have I booked all the things? Have I done everything? But I know I need to train. I'm like, but I could just sit here all the rest of the day and fucking work. There is always work to do. Like, there is always work to do. But that taking time, whether it's an hour and a half, 45 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, taking time away here, you can go to the gym, work out, get a sweat on, do something for yourself, do something difficult, challenge yourself, and come back. You're a different person whenever you come back here. Like, you are 100% a different person whenever you come back after you train.
I just hope that I can recover enough because my kids get home at like 3:30 tonight. Tonight after school, and I plan on doing a push day with them. So I'm like hoping that like I get like my second win, but I'm definitely going to start taking some pre-workout. Maybe take like 700 milligrams of caffeine instead of like 300 to see how that goes. Or I could just take the Black Ops and then I'll just be in the bathroom for the next 4 years.
Let's not take the. I still have a tub that's unopened.
Dude, don't even try it. So funny story. My buddy Chris that I live with, he texted me the other day. He's like, I messed up and I was out of all my pre and all I had left was Black Ops. And last time, he's hilarious because if no one knows what we're talking about, the Redcon 1 like Black Ops is like an insane stim pre-workout. It's ridiculous. It should not be on the market in my opinion. Like last time
I can't legally get it in the UK, so I think that tells you everything that you need to know.
Yeah, it's no joke. And listen, I'm usually not sensitive to stim stuff. This wrecked me. Like, I mean, I was in the bathroom like 7 times. I was sweating profusely without even doing any work. I felt like total garbage the whole day. Like, I thought I was going to die. So I was like, I'm not touching this stuff ever again. So I, of course, give it to my buddy Chris. And Chris is like, and by the way, Kevin did the same thing.
That's what true friends are for. Yeah. This really fucked me up. You should have it.
Yeah. And then like everybody in the BC family was like, oh, Dave's just a bitch. We're going to try this. And they had the exact same reactions. Like, feel like total garbage and crap, like exact same thing. And Chris is like, well, listen, because Chris has a supplement company, and Chris is like, I don't react to stims at all, so like I'm totally fine. And he takes it, he's like, holy shit, this is a mistake. And so he was wrecked. He was in the bathroom. So whatever it is, it's messing people up like severely. But so he sends me a message yesterday, and he's like, about to hit the gym. Only issue is I ran out of pre. All I had was Black Ops. So he's like, I only took a half a dose to see how it would react. And he's like, and then I see like a message like 15 minutes later, like ... It didn't help. I'm on the bathroom now, So like it had the same effect with half the dose. So be careful with the type of pre you take. But it's cool to see the changes in yourself as you start to go through all of this and kind of focus on it, right?
Yeah, I'm actually just having a quick look here to see what the reviews are on the what the reviews are on the website. Nothing seems to be negative, so it must be all right for some people. Yes, so another one. I guess this sort of ties in with the last one, but Rob made a good point, and I will point him out because I challenged him to share within the group, and I even challenged him more to create a video, and I think that's definitely putting someone on the spot. So credit to him. About an hour later, there was a video in the group of him sort of talking about an epiphany that he had. And essentially it was sort of an understanding that there are weeks that you have the capacity to push and do more, and there are weeks that you just are barely able to get by with the non-negotiables. And that's okay. And I think the sort of lesson in that is, if you have the sort of set, these are my non-negotiables, whether it's 3 training sessions, 60 minutes of cardio across the week, 10,000 steps a day, track your food, and they're your non-negotiables. If you get those done in your week, that is a win. But if you look at your week ahead and you're like, I've got quite a light week here. Maybe I'll do an extra session, or maybe I'll do an extra cardio session, or maybe I'll do additional steps. Like, have those weeks where you know, right, okay, this week's going to be tight. I'll tick the boxes because that's what I need to do. Or this week's a little bit lighter, time to really push on.
Yep. Yeah, those consistency aspects. You know, I keep seeing the videos of kind of inspirational speakers on what changes in your mind. And I know we've had this discussion before, but like, it really isn't discipline at the end of the day, or not. I'm going to rephrase that. It's discipline.
What? It's not discipline.
It's not motivation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, you know, motivation is, I'm not motivated every single day to go to the gym. You know, there are days where I feel like total garbage. There's days where I don't want to lift. There's days where I'm mentally exhausted. I'm physically exhausted. There's days where, you know, things just don't go right and I don't have the time to dedicate to it. You know, so I'm not motivated every single day to go to the gym. I'm not always excited to go to the gym. But what changes in those types of situations is my consistency and discipline to go there. If you don't have the discipline and consistency in these types of programs to make changes, you're going to revert back to your old habits. And those old habits then will kick back in, and all of the progress that you've gained, you will lose and probably revert back even worse. So we have to look at that and say, can I make a change that I can make small changes that are consistent, that I can stick to? And, you know, I've mentioned this on the podcast several times, but I essentially have two rules. One, when I wake up in the morning, I tell myself that I don't have a choice on going out to work out. There's no choice. I have to do it. It's like brushing my teeth or putting deodorant on or taking a shower or, you know, getting up for the morning to go to work and making a cup of coffee. I have to go and work out. That's my rule. The second is that if I'm just feeling like total garbage and I just can't lift, I have a sweat rule, which is I go to the gym, and after I break a sweat, if I still feel like garbage and I don't want to work out, I will leave. And I've never left, right? So those two rules work well for me to keep consistency. Yours may vary and change, but the difference is that you're going there and you're doing and you're putting the work in so that you don't revert to those same types of habits.
Yeah, I think that, you know, if we go back to the Jocko thing, like, I would imagine if he was in this conversation and you said that I don't have the motivation to go to the gym, but I went anyway, like, good, that's an opportunity to reinforce the discipline that you have, that you then, you know, back up the identity that you're trying to create. And sort of tying in with that, a conversation, or I guess in a note in a check-in from Prabhu, he said that the essentially the past 2 or 3 weeks have been a shit show. Vacation, got sick, was a total shit show. And he sort of leaned into the fact that he had the structure of the program and just got back into it. And he says, you know, if it had been times before, he probably would have just written a couple of months off. He just didn't want to do it. You know, he had 3 weeks. He felt like he'd gone backwards. He just wouldn't have went back to the gym for a couple of months, and then come September or whenever it might be, then started again and having not necessarily undone, but, you know, starting as close to sort of square one as possible. So having that structure of knowing, right, this is the plan, this is the program, like, just go and execute it, get it done. So that is one thing that he sort of thanked for. Shout out to him as well, because I told him to leave a note in the, I didn't challenge him to do a video, to leave a note in the client group as well. Because I think that this is an important growing, I guess, benefit of being within that sort of, like, he's not the only person with that thought. He's not the only person with that struggle. So for him to be able to be vulnerable enough to go and share, like, this is what I struggle with and this is how I overcame it, I think, you know, there's however many other people in the group that maybe read that and maybe not, it won't hit home straight away, but in a couple of months' time, whenever they're sick and they feel like shit and they don't want to go, like, but, you know, I read this, or I saw this, or I watched this video, or someone else in the group did. So sharing their experiences, I think, which is something that's massively beneficial of having the group and having that aspect. So I'm going to lean into that a bit more in terms of getting them to share, because while I see it every time I do a check-in, not necessarily everybody sees it. So I'm definitely going to make a point of getting people to share more often, because that is the benefit of having the group, essentially.
Yeah. The shared experiences and the community aspect is huge, and, you know, how you improve and how you get better. And it's funny because, like, I feel like there should be like almost like a trigger in the Discord server of, like, when someone new joins, click this to start, because, like, a lot of the questions are exactly the same. Like, hey, what do I do this? Do I need supplements? Do you
have an air fryer? How do you make your oats? How do you make your protein shakes? Yeah, there's definitely has become a second interview going on. Another thing that I'm by no means qualified to talk about this, but I just want to bring it up, and I feel like potentially you and I can delve into it a little bit deeper, and or get someone who is maybe a bit more of a professional to talk about it. But there is a lot of chat around emotional eating or stress eating. And for me, I never thought that I was a person that got stressed. And then every so often I would find myself like in the snack cupboard and I'm like, why am I here? Like, when you always start a question, I'm like, why am I at the bottom of this fucking bag of Doritos again? And it obviously just comes down to stress, and you have that sort of like comfort aspect. Now, there's many ways to look at it. There's many things that you can do. The sort of initial go-to thing that I'll say is, understanding that stress is the trigger, and then sort of thinking about the habit loop that they talk about in Atomic Habits is the way to deal with it. Now, there is a lot, I guess there's a lot of layers to that, and there's potentially a lot of like behaviors from childhood and stuff, and a lot to sort of bring up. And I do think that that's why I'm by no means an expert, but I do think that, like, normalizing that as okay too, like you're not the only one who is an emotional eater or a stress eater. That is a thing, and that's okay too, is important for sure.
Yeah, the stress eating stuff, is again, a relationship with food is always a tough one, because you're breaking maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 years, if not more, of eating habits or ways that you handled things, right? And I guess that's for me, that the way that I was able to really kind of break myself free of that was through a structure, right? A structure that I could use around macros. And it's actually interesting to bring this up. So I got to the dinner 2 nights ago for
one day this week.
Yeah. For all of the different, partners for the thing. And it was a nice, kind of Italian restaurant, things like that. And they brought out these lamb chops, these big, bone lamb chops. And it was like, kind of like, serve whatever. And I was joking with the guy over there. I was like, hey, can I get like 18 of those lamb chops? And I kind of wasn't joking. I was like, I kind of want 18 lamb chops right now. So he kept putting like these bones of lamb. I mean, I have like all this protein that I've been eating, right? And the guys, that are there, that I just literally just met, they're like, okay, like, you're the protein guy. Got it. And, conversely, I was at the airport with one of our folks from marketing and our CEO, Bob, and head of marketing sales, Tracy. And I go, we were in the lounge waiting for our flights. We had different flights and things like that. We're in the lounge, and I go, and it was like, it's late at night. I had already eaten food, but I wanted like a little something sweet. So I go and I get a little mixed drink, and I go and I get some jelly beans. And I'm good at my calories. I know what I'm eating. I'm fine. And I get the jelly beans, and Tracy looks at me. She's like, "What? You're gonna eat that? Like, really?" I'm like, "Yeah. Why?" She's like, "Aren't you like super strict on like everything that you eat, and you only eat like protein and that's it?" I'm like, "No, I eat whatever I want to. Like, I eat pizza. I eat like whatever." She was like completely shocked that I could eat normal foods, and that was part of my normal like routines. And flexible eating is the way that we need to go. And there's a lot of good data showing that if you restrict foods that you enjoy, you start to develop a lot of food issues, your relationship with food and kind of your obsession with it and how your mind works and everything else. You start to develop some issues with food. And so, for me, flexible eating, and what we mean by that is, staying within your macros and your calories, making sure you get enough protein, carbohydrates, and fats that, allow you to either be in a deficit, maintenance, or surplus. Yeah, I can eat, some jelly beans. That's not going to break me or cause me to, gain 15 pounds of fat as I go through. What does set you back, 10 to 15 years is if you get sick for one day and then you lose basically 15 years of gain. So that's the worst part about it. That's how you feel usually. But
I think that's essentially what I try and teach, because the one thing that I see time and time again, and maybe you'll be able to speak from experience on this, is when people decide to go on a weight loss journey or a diet, the first thing that they take out is their favorite things, because generally they're the highest in calories, the most delicious, they're hyper palatable, and they could eat them all day long. I'm like, what? Like, I understand it. It seems logical, but at the same time, like, fuck that. Like, life is for living. So like, how can I teach you the framework that, okay, the majority of the time I have to eat good quality, nutrient dense foods, but it doesn't mean that I can't have a cheeseburger, or I can't eat a pizza, or I can't eat jelly beans. And right. I do see that quite a lot. Like, people have this, they look at you because you're in shape and you train and you eat a certain way. Like, whenever you come off that, or they seem like, you can't have a slice of cake. Like, don't fucking tell me I have 2 slices of cake. I think that is definitely, it's an eye opener to sort of see that. And I've told this story before, but I remember one of the first times, I think I must have posted it on Instagram, and I'd maybe been coaching Louise for a couple of months, maybe 6, 7, 8 months. And she replied saying, what the fuck? Like, you're an actual human, like you eat pizza too. And I'm like, yes, I eat pizza too. Like, it is okay. Like, getting into that sort of mindset. So it's, again, that's a relationship with food thing. And I fully agree that there can be a lot of negative relationships around food, and there are a lot of diets out there that will promote negative relationships around food, and that's not good. And that's why I sort of try and step away from having like good and bad foods. Like, some are obviously better for you than others, but it doesn't mean that you can't have them as long as you can sort of moderate them.
Well, I think that the also we have to also understand that it's okay to be hungry too. You know, not starving, but it's okay to be hungry, right? And it's okay to feel like you need to eat and you want food, but at the same time, not doing that if it doesn't fit within what your body needs. Our bodies will say, listen, I'm used to eating 5,000 calories a day and maintaining a certain amount of body fat. Why are you not eating that currently today? Are we in trouble? Are we hurting? Are we, starving? So I'm going to let you know I'm used to this, what's going on. And so you kind of have to break that cycle a bit too. I remember when I first, started doing the cutting, getting the body fat off, I was hungry. I was very hungry. Right. But I wasn't starving. It wasn't like I had to have food. I didn't have energy. It was just my body basically saying, dude, I mean, I know we're building muscles, but I kind of want to keep as much fat as I can too. I'm like, no, we're losing the fat too, and we're gonna keep the muscle. So let's do this the right way. And it's you kind of have to power through that and get used to that type of feeling, and then each day gets so much easier. Just like when you first go to the gym, it sucks. Like, you don't want to go to the gym. It's like, why would I want to go and bust my ass and do all this and break a sweat and also other things? But eventually your body's like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I like doing this. This is great. I can do this more often. So, it's those mindset switches that really start to forge our habits and our disciplines around those types of behaviors that we can do to change ourselves. And I really think that in order to be successful at it, you really just have to focus on that mindset of, I'm in a system. I'm going to stick with this system. I may falter on the system, but I'm going back to the system. If you fall off the wagon, you got to get back on it again. You can't let it go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, 6 days, because before you know, it's going to be 6 months and you're back to the same routine. But this is something that's sustainable for you, right? You can eat what you want to, enjoy what you want to. You can have the fun that you want to, and also have the energy you want to, as long as you stay consistent with it. And I think a lot of us just fall back to daily life and work and exercise, daily work and habits, and being too busy, and it just kind of takes a side burner. Listen, I mean, I might be an extreme in certain cases, but like when I'm on vacation, I'm fucking lifting. Like, I'm getting up before my kids get up. Before Aaron gets up, I am at the gym. I am slugging some weight around, and I'm the last to go to bed as well. And that's just how I operate and I work, because I don't want to revert back to it, but I also don't want to lose a day of gains. Like, I'm like, that's a day of biceps that I could have had larger biceps. I'm like, why am I going to skip that? Like, that's a great day.
But I think that I've had this conversation quite a lot, like for the past maybe 8 years. Like, I've always made a point of, if I'm away for a weekend or I'm away on a holiday, vacation, or I'm somewhere, like, I'll always make a point to go to the gym, and people are like, but you're on holiday. I'm like, I'm what? Like, yes, I'm on holiday, but I am a person that goes to the gym. I enjoy going to the gym. I enjoy seeing other gyms. Like, I enjoy training. It's a part of my identity. It's obviously a huge part of my identity because of what I do. But even before that, like, it is like, that's where we sort of shift the mindset around, I go to the gym because this is my goal, to I go to the gym because I'm a person that goes to the gym. And whenever you get into the, like, you're training on vacation, like, that's okay. But also, in the same hand, if you don't want to train while you're away and you want to just like, that is also okay. Like, it's absolutely fine. Like, Jill went on vacation last week, I think. And now we had timed this to have a deload. Basically, we were probably overdue a deload by about 3 or 4 weeks, but we knew that the vacation was coming up. We just sort of pushed it. And I was like, I had a call with her the day that she went. I was like, look, I don't want you to train. Just go and enjoy. If you want to do some cardio, that's okay. I don't want you to track food. And she sort of looked at me like, what do you mean you don't want me to track food? I was like, just go and enjoy. Like, it's absolutely fine. Like, in the grand scheme of things, like 1 week out of an entire year, 2 years, however many years, like, it's not going to change anything that dramatically. Like, go and just have a week to decompress, chill out. Don't worry about that. Go and enjoy yourself. Be present in the moment. Enjoy good food, whatever you need to do. And I was like, I had to call her and she came back. I was like, was that the right choice? She's like, yeah, absolutely the right choice. So being okay with coming on and off things as well. And I think that is something that sort of takes time to have the trust in yourself and or me and or the process to be able to go and be able to do things and actually sort of take time away. So if you do want to train while you're on vacation, good. If you don't, also good.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, I do feel comfortable. If I didn't train, I'd be right back at it again, right? But that took a lot of time and trust in myself, to get to that point. I mean, there was times where I'd struggle and I'd be like, I messed up, and I feel like I'm not going to get back on it, but I absolutely would. And you just can't let yourself slip. This is a commitment to yourself from here on out. Really, I mean, you're not going to stop lifting, the rest of your life. You're not going to stop getting steps in the rest of your life. Eating the rest of your life. Now, again, you can have pauses and breaks, but hopping back on and doing what you do to get to your goals, I think is the major accomplishment there. So, again, I think it's really beneficial for you to do that.
Absolutely agree. Another one is on scale weight, and this comes up, like, I'm sure you can imagine how many times I talk about scale weight, but it's a double-edged sword as well, because we will celebrate the weight loss. Like, I'm not saying, if you've lost 20, 30, 40, 70, 100 pounds, yes, we will celebrate that all day long. But it's not the only thing that we need to focus on. And I see this time and time again. And actually, I went on a bit of a rant. David Boyd got the absolute brunt of this the other day. He's the person that will come to me every so often. He's like, I'm stuck at this weight. I'm like, right, okay. So he came to me I was on a call with him on Wednesday. He goes, I'm stuck at the 185 pounds. And I'm like, right, how long have you been stuck? I was like, hold on a second. Was it not just a month ago you told me you were stuck at 190 pounds? I was like, go and check the text. He checked the text. It was like 3 weeks ago. I was like, hold on a second here. You told me 3 weeks ago that you were stuck at 190 pounds. And now 3 weeks later, you're at 185 pounds and you're telling me you're stuck there. Like, shut the fuck up for a second and realize that you've lost 5 pounds in that time. And I even stopped. I was on a call with him. I went over to here and I got the 5 pounds of fat and was like, look at what this is. Look at the fucking size of this. Like, you've lost this amount of your body. And he was like, yeah, right, okay. But the thing about it is, like, yes, we will celebrate it. And yes, it is a tool that we use to measure progress. But at the same time, it's something that will fluctuate. It's something that will not move in the sort of direction that we want it to at all times. Yes, okay, if it is sort of stalled out for 2, 3, 4 weeks, then something needs to change. But if you've just lost 5 pounds in 3 weeks and it's the same weight every day for a week, there's no need to fucking lose your mind about it. Like, we can just continue. And if again, it goes another couple of weeks, then we start to make a change. So don't always have that as your main focus. Make sure that you're still progressing in terms of the gym. Make sure you're still progressing in terms of photos, measurements, and things like that. And if you're confident in yourself that you're ticking all the boxes and you're doing all the stuff, the results will come. Don't come at me with, oh, I'm not making progress. If you're not, the quote is, don't be pissed off about the results you're not getting for the work you're not doing. So if you're doing the work and ticking the boxes, you should be confident enough that that will come and be okay with that. But don't freak out when you have 1 week's worth of check-in and it's like, oh, but I didn't, I haven't made the progress. It's like, all right, well, it's been 1 week. This happened. You were stressed. You maybe overate. You ate late here. You were away for the weekend. Insert any amount of different sort of variations that will cause weight to sort of fluctuate. And that is okay too.
Yep, 100% agree. The last thing I think we should hit on before we close up here and wrap up. Do you have any more you want to hit
on? Not specifically. The only one here that I have that might be relevant is a lot of people who have sort of moved from being in a deficit to being in a surplus have made an observation that the more food that they eat, the hungrier they are. And I think that this is a very funny thing for them to go through. So the thing about this is, whenever I have an initial conversation with someone, I always say my goal is to get you to a place where you can process and handle as much food as possible and still sort of move in whatever direction you're trying to go to. And this comes to the metabolism question, and it comes to sort of banking on that improving. So obviously, whenever we increase food, the goal is to increase the intensity of your workouts as well. And two things essentially are going on. Number one, you're eating more food. So your body is actually burning more calories, more fuel, processing and digesting more food. So it is actually just the process of eating more food is burning more calories, but also the intensity of your workouts, whether it's from cardio or steps or me just having fucking hand gestures talking to you now, like all of those things will increase. So you will be burning more calories, so you will be hungrier. And that's where you want to be. Like, in my eyes, moving from a deficit to moving to a surplus, your body, yes, will adapt to being on those lower calories, but as you start to feed it more and more and more, all those things that you switched off on the Tesla because you weren't going to make it, now that you've made it and you've charged up again, are good to go again. So that to me is a sign that the things that we're doing worked in that process and are continuing to work in the next process.
Yep, fully agree.
That's my list. That's my list. And that's what I do every week.
Yeah, that's good. That's one thing I wanted to hit on before we head out. I thought this was really awesome. And I was always curious. I don't actually do overhead tricep extensions very often, which I am going to be starting to do all the time now, every single day of my life.
Going to go and do them right now after the podcast.
Right now. But there was a study that came out from Ritsumeikan University. I'm definitely butchering that name. But the research was conducted at the National Institute of Fitness and Sports in Kanoya. And what they did was they took a comparison of 21 different participants, 14 men, 7 women, all around the age of 23 years old. And they basically broke down on one arm doing tricep extensions, on the other arm doing overhead tricep extensions. Okay. So rope versus rope extensions, cable push downs, basically, versus tricep extensions. And what they found was that overhead tricep extensions build 40% more muscle than that of cable pushdowns. So I thought that was a really interesting statistic. 40% more muscle. That's pretty substantial from a muscle building perspective. And so the research paper's out. It's got a lot of great details in it. But what they're basically explaining is that the time under tension and the full range of motion for stretching that muscle is completed much better from a range of motion, time under tension perspective on the overhead tricep extension than the cable push down. So when you're coming down, if you think about your eccentric movement, as you're coming back down, is going to be much more better from a range of motion perspective. And as you push up, same thing. So you're always having essentially tension on that muscle throughout the entire exercise. Whereas when you're doing kind of a tricep push down, when you get down to the very bottom, you're kind of locking your arm out, which is taking, that tension off of that tricep. And not also, and with tricep extension too, when you're doing it, you want to like curve your essentially your wrist in to kind of so that the tricep actually flexes the full range of motion there, which not a lot of people do when they're doing their tricep push downs or rope extensions. So when I do it, I actually like curve my hands so that the muscle actually pops out
to get it to fully contract the position.
Fully contract, yeah. So if you're looking at building bigger triceps, consider the overhead tricep extension as being kind of your staple of what you do. I'm going to incorporate that into all my routines so that I can get 40% more gains moving forward. So.
Well, one thing, just I guess a bit of a side note on that. Obviously, I moved into a new program this week. Whenever you have overhead tricep extensions programmed and the set is one set of 8 to 12, but rest positive 40 reps. If you've ever tried doing 40 reps or something, it's a fucking lot. And I was actually doing dumbbell rear delt flies just last to finish off in the gym. And it's not something that I ever thought I had a good connection with, but it was 2 sets of 50. Now, this is a message to anybody who thinks they can't get a good connection with the muscle. Do 50 reps and then come back to me and tell me you can't feel that muscle, because you sure as shit will feel that muscle at the end of it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a tough one. But you're definitely going to get that mind muscle
connection. Yeah, reps. Absolutely are. I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was beneficial to sort of see a bit of an insight as to what goes on with the client group. If there's anybody that found anything beneficial, let us know. If any had an epiphany moment, let us know. Please share us with your friends and family, work colleagues, people you know, people you don't even like, people at your gym, wherever you just want to share us. I'm absolutely fine with. And join us on the We Hack Health movement.
Absolutely. We'll catch you all next week. Same time, same place. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and you obviously find us on all the different social media platforms. Join our Discord, and thank you all for listening. Catch you all next week.
See you next week.